We'll just start. Good evening and thank you for joining us on this very nice Friday evening. I'm sure everybody's excited. Today is Friday. Uh, Even for those who have work from home, I'm sure Friday does bring a certain kind of joy. Uh, to introduce myself, I'm Manan Sampat. I am from the MMS batch of 2007. I currently run my own venture, and the mother of all ironies is I started this literally 2 weeks before COVID struck. So it's an interesting journey. It's something where I know that I have a whole list of things of what not to do. So I will introduce our two esteemed panelists. Pankaj is from Pankaj. Hi, good afternoon, and we've got Ram Bhushan as well. Uh, Pankaj, would you please introduce yourself? Over to you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Pankaj Bajoria. I am from 2001 batch and I work as a chief financial officer for a real estate company called Orchid Infrastructure and based out of Gurgaon from last 17 years.
Thanks, Pankaj. We also have Ram Bhushan. Hi, Ram. Good afternoon. Welcome to the chat.
Thanks, Manan, and a very good evening to all my fellow SIMSAR alumni and students. I am from the MMS batch of 1995. Now spent close to 25 years in the investment banking across JM Morgan Stanley, Barclays, and now I'm with Investec. I take care of their corporate finance and equity capital markets business, and have been part of several fundraising exercises as well as M&A transactions over the past 2 decades.
To continue with this conversation, let's have some interesting points across. I request all the participants to please raise their questions on chat. They will be collated, and we'll try and get some Q&A at the end of this. Uh, so Ram, just to start out, can you just take us through what's happening on the financial markets as we know it? Everything that we know is not sane, and everything that we see seems absurd. So if you can just throw some light on that.
Sure, Manan, let me actually take a few steps back and talk about what situation we are in. And I think this is one of a very unique kind of an environment. And like every such situation, there will be plenty of risks and challenges. But at the same time, I strongly believe that there are enough opportunities which one needs to maximize. If we were to look at several global economies which have been seeing already some form of slowdown, and that environment is going to turn quite negative during the current crisis. For example, this year, probably for the first time in 4 decades, we are going to see a contraction in Indian GDP. And if at all we escape the contraction, maybe it will be somewhere in a decimal numbers in terms of growth. And what was unthinkable even a month back, we are seeing that and facing that as a reality. For example, the oil prices going into the negative territory zone. We as a nation cannot be complaining about the depressed oil prices because that adds a lot of cushion to our economy. You would also agree that there's a significant impact on the businesses, and the business models will be questioned both internally as well as externally. Several sectors across the spectrum will revisit the way they operate, and I will be not surprised if there is a reinvention of the models at the core. COVID-19 will lead to several such changes, and one of them which we are now using for this discussion, say for example, the Zoom call or the video conferencing, is here to stay. And it's an interesting anecdote because in February, at our senior leadership meeting, when our CEO, who is based in London, popped up the question that how effective can be if we are required to work from home, and how geared up are all of you. The initial reaction was obviously saying that investment banking requires people, it requires meetings, it requires networking. It's not possible to do it from home. Thankfully, we took the decision that we need to test our systems and ensure the transition from work from home is smooth. And so when the event actually happened, we had a completely seamless transition to be working from home. We also conducted an internal survey last week in terms of trying to see how our respondents and how are the members of the group, both senior as well as junior, adapting to it. And a majority of them said that they have actually adapted quite well. And some of them, including myself, have said that my productivity has improved significantly. So that's a stark change from the initial view. We have seen the $5.7 billion investment by Facebook in Geo, what is arguably the largest investment post WhatsApp. And negotiations were done online. I know some of the bankers who are involved. And apart from the initial meetings when the term sheet was signed sometime in Jan, most of the other discussions, in fact, some of the key members of the Reliance team were supposed to be in US during mid-March, but they had to cancel that, and discussions do happen over video conferencing. So these are probably some shifts in the future that we could see. Speaking about the banking, financial services, and insurance, it's central to the functioning of the economy as it contributes nearly a fifth to the Indian GDP. That is going to be a massive disruption in this sector. The larger and well-funded players would emerge better than the rest. However, size is not all that matters, and it would be key as to how players adapt to technology, alter their business delivery mechanisms, and look at the credit risk framework. If we were to look at some of the initial trends, they confirm the above hypothesis. As one would have seen, several banks which have reported their last quarter numbers have started to see diminishing deposit base. So from what used to be double-digit growth, we are seeing a contraction in some of the smaller and regional banks. Several NBFCs, especially the smaller ones, are grappling with survival issues. With such dramatic shifts, one can expect that businesses are going to adapt to the new normal, and that is going to result in changes to the business models. We will also witness changes to the way businesses operate post-COVID, and it's not just during the COVID. I attended a Bain conference which said that every 50 years, there's a big transformation that happens globally, with changes in the way the business are governed and run. Obviously, with around 2.3 lakh crore of MSME loans estimated to be the risk of turning bad, and this is a report which Credit Bureau TransUnion Civil put up just earlier today, we are in probably one such big event. The quantum impact will vary for each of the subsegments though, across the financial services. For example, financial services firms which have exposure to discretionary spends will face a larger kind of an impact than those which are exposed to non-discretionary spends. Certain subsegments like say life or health insurance would be lesser impacted. If one were to look at what are we talking about in terms of credit provisioning, the impact, if I were to look at statistics for the top 4 US banks, NPAs which used to be around credit provisioning which used to be around 5 billion every quarter has jumped now to close to 25 billion in the last quarter. So what are firms doing and how are they responding to the challenges, and what is in the minds of leadership? Because we ourselves had a few meetings both at an India level as well as a global level. I think one, growth is no longer the primary focus for leaderships, especially in the near term, especially since volatility has increased significantly and businesses are trying to adapt to this new change. One clear change that, few themes that I could think about as diversification of portfolio, be it geographical spread, product distribution, customer segmentations, as businesses try to minimize risk and exposure to certain segments. Even if it means reducing contribution from some of the profitable segments, businesses are going to change. Contingencies will be built. We will see a higher cost of funds regime in the near future. And obvious is the digital transformation will be accelerated as technology will continue to drive further change. I would say some of these changes were Sorry, Manan, you want to interrupt or?
I wanted to get Pankaj in the conversation.
Sure.
I just wanted to get hi Pankaj. I
Hi.
wanted to get your view on this, primarily because you come from a very interesting space. Currently, the real estate has perennially been a bad boy in terms of capital allocation. That's what we hear. Of course, you know it better. But the crisis that we see, I'm sure it has been magnified at your end and in the business that you operate. So if you can, just give us some insights, especially with the sector that you operate in.
See, please understand, the scenario is completely changing constantly, and future seems to be very, very uncertain at this moment. And while I represent an industry which is the second largest large service provider, job provider after agriculture in this country, we are going really facing a huge problem out there. The migrant labor are moving back to their hometown. The capitals are not available. People are not paying their out dues on time. Rentals are not coming in time, and people are evoking their force majeure clause. The situation is really difficult at this time. But at the same point in time, this is the industry which is really looking this as a problem as well as an opportunity, because with the kind of situation we are in, we really see that the social distancing is going to be a regular norm till the time the vaccination is not available, which we really don't see that is coming in next 18 months at least. Even if it comes in 18 months, we are talking about some 7.2 billion people to be vaccinated. Whereas if we see a history, polio drop, giving a polio vaccination to everybody took about 22, 23 years in this country. So in case if we are talking about the same vaccination to be given to everybody, we are again talking about not less than 10 years, if not later. So if we are going to talk about this kind of a scenario, the regular lockdown are going to be a regular phenomena. So I was hearing a doctor from Singapore on another call another day, and he was saying that we need to prepare our businesses in such a way that we should be ready for such kind of issues which will be coming in the future. There will be spikes in those cases. Wherever there will be spikes, the government will have no choice but to implement a lockdown in that situation. And then in that scenario, we need to really look into that option of working from home. Yes, people will be working from home. Yes, since people will be working from home, yes, there will be a less requirement of office space for that matter. But having said that, there is another side of it, that in case if you will need less space, there are less people to be coming to the office. Those less number of people will need more space because there will be social distancing will be required. Today, the commercial real estate is working at about 50 per square feet per person. That number will definitely go to about 120 to 130 square feet per person. So even if the workforce will reduce to about 50%, then the area requirement will go maybe 15% higher than what it is today. A lot of supplies are already lined up in the market. If I talk about Gurgaon alone, for that matter, about 15 million square foot is 15 billion square foot is on the line. No, not 15 million square foot is on the line. And once that 15 million square foot will be in the available in the market, it will be very difficult to see the kind of absorption which we were really predicting before, whether it will be really there or not. So there are mixed kind of situations, but yes, as I was reading another paper, we are the most optimistic breed of developers in the world. 53% people entrepreneur in India are quite hopeful that after COVID we will have more opportunities as compared to Japanese, where only 25% people thinks that way. So I really think that if there will be challenges, there will be positivity as well in the market. Yeah.
So I get an interesting question here. Why are the FMCG companies doing well in spite of the reduction in consumption? Their stocks are at 52-week highs when they only have less than half of their stores open. So while we are talking about the finance aspects, a lot of stores are closed, but we see a massive spike in the demand for a certain kind of products, and B, they are able to manage them very well and very effectively. Ram, if you can throw some light on that, please.
So, Manan, I am not actually surprised by that statistics because what we probably are seeing are the initial days and the tendencies, even if we were to reflect upon ourselves, and that could vary from person to person in terms of the quantum of hoarding or quantum of advanced purchases that one would have done. So, FMCG, I'm actually not very surprised. But if you were to look at some of the others, like which are slightly more discretionary consumer spends, including say apparels, etc. Those have gone completely close to zero. So the
So we will
impact
see
will
an
be quite
impact.
different.
Yeah. So we will see
And
probably this impact coming in the next 3 months or so, when people realize that they don't need to consume as much. How do you see that pattern play out,
on a
especially
lighter
in
note, on a lighter note,
yeah,
I would
please.
say that most of us have been joking around that we all will probably put on a couple of extra kgs because we are starting to consume more than what we used to do normally. But having said that, yes, those it has to some at some point of time even out. And what we are probably seeing is the efficiencies of supply chain actually working. But the key would be to actually go a little bit more deeper because I guess most of us are slightly more privileged in terms of access to services, access to material goods and services. But the key is how are some of the less fortunate people or some of the rural areas where distribution and supply chain logistics are more challenging reacting. I heard for a little while today our Prime Minister's interactions with the Sarpanchs and Gram Panchayats, and I was quite pleased with what we heard over there. I think what we tend to typically say that Indian consumer, Indian behavior, or an lay Indian person is quite, I would say, naive. Doesn't seem to be the case. Everybody has behaved and acted responsibly.
Pankaj, this question to you: has the availability and the supply of capital to industry, if not completely dried up, has the taps have gone to a trickle? Because we see at one point RBI coming in, the reverse repo numbers are at very high levels, but where the industry is wanting funds, it's absolutely devoid of all kind of financing or refinancing. So if you can give us some insights on that.
See, on the repo rate and CRR rate and all those stuff, the bankers are still to transfer the benefits to the customers, including those real estate developers. But at this moment, as I'm speaking to a lot of bankers nowadays, they are also holding back for quite some time till the time this situation gets normalized. By reducing the CRR, definitely the funds have come into the market for sure. But at this moment, the bankers are also keeping it very safe because they know that there will be a lot of real estate loans which they need to really restructure for that matter. Surprisingly, when I was speaking to a couple of bankers, to give a number, about 17% people have only asked for their loan EMIs to be rescheduled,
The
and
moratorium.
83% people have asked them to they are continuing paying their EMIs, because at the end of the day, we CFOs knows that in case if we are not making the payment for the EMI, the whole interest becomes the principal, and we end up paying interest on the same. Having said that, the dollar is all-time high, and the rupee is low at all time. It makes a lot more sense for people to really bring in capital from the international avenues in case if they can. And there are discussions going on in the market wherein people are looking at those opportunities where they can encash on these opportunities which are currently available in the market. The real estate industry, for that matter, because I can speak for them only, it's a water and food kind of a situation. So you can survive without food, but you cannot survive with water. And cash flow is water, and the profitability is food. So we may not be having food, but we will need water. So at this moment, as the whole industry is saying that we will have a lot of pressure to sell. So not only sell the product which is available with us, being it land, being it house, or being it office space. Yes, we will be willing to sell our stakes also in the companies at a decent price, which will be a very which is going to be an attractive number for anybody who's coming. And as Mr. Raghunaman have said that this is not going to be a doomsday. So dollar is not going to touch 90 or 100 for that matter. It's going to be in the same vicinity, and probability is going to bounce back. The rupee is going to bounce back, and we will have a slightly better number. So somebody who's investing into this will have definitely an edge over the investment when he's making at this time. So I really see that yes, there is a stress at this moment. People are finding it difficult to repay their loans, but yes, most of the people are trying to make it too, and the promoters are bringing money back into the system from wherever they have pulled it out before. The mutual funds are we are drying up our mutual fund investments wherever we have done, and we are also working out various avenues where we can pull that money. So somehow we are trying to cope it up with the situation. And yes, once the situation will normalize, yes, banker will have more funds available with them. And since RBI is going to come up, RBI is allowing them to restructure the transaction, everybody will be in a position and situation to land more money. And of course, since the restrictions will be eased out, real estate will be benefited out of it as far as the excess of the fund is concerned. This is what I
That
foresee.
actually gets me to my next question. We've got global reserves at multi-year highs. The Fed
Mhm.
itself has given a liquidity impetus of almost 2 trillion plus, and we are quite certain that they
I've
will
lost you,
continue
Manoj.
this. So I was saying that global central banks have pumped liquidity like
Yeah,
there's no tomorrow, and this is
yeah.
something that we've seen even in the last crisis. Last
Hmm.
crisis, however, was a financial one. This is something very different.
Yeah.
With that kind of global liquidity in the system, don't you think India will become a very attractive, investment? Because we are at currently investment grade, so don't you think we'll attract a lot more capital than what we are attracting right now? Ram, if you
See,
can, yeah, sorry, yeah, Pankaj, please go on.
Pankaj
yeah.
wanted to go, so I'll add to it.
See,
Pankaj, go
Please,
ahead.
please add to that.
the point here is predominantly the government has to really look into this as an opportunity and has to create the environment for this. At this moment, we are in a situation where lot of compliances need to be done. In case if this compliances are sorted out, then I think we are a good place where people can invest money into it. Yeah, Ram.
No, I think I would agree to what Pankaj just said, that it's not just about attractiveness. One needs to have the right environment. We are blessed with the fact that we have a large domestic consumption, which is going to be very important to attract any kind of an investment in such a scenario. But interestingly, some anecdotal evidence post our lockdown in the last few weeks, close to $16 billion of FISL has happened. That means the money has flown out of India, which is staggering by any stretch of imagination and comparison to anything that's happened in the recent past that India has witnessed. We have been blessed with two things. One, obviously, is the fact that oil prices are quite low. Um, and we are yet to see a full impact of COVID-19 playing out on our economy yet.
So just taking this conversation to a slightly different one. If one thing is adapting as we go. For the first week, I'm sure everybody was excited. No traveling. You can stay in shorts and work at home. Spend more time with the family. But at some point, this is becoming the new reality. A lot of companies across sectors are realizing that they don't need to interact physically. That is, B, a lot of capital, time, effort, resources can be saved by doing a lot of things which we did not even think that could be done virtually. A classic case being the Facebook deal that was done majorly over video conferencing. So what are the other methods or other key factors you think that industry will adapt, and especially in the case of a finance aspect to it as well? So where do you think we'll adapt, and we'll adapt positively, so to say? Because once the lockdown starts, I'm sure while some of us want to go to office, a lot of us will want to stay at home and make this the new normal.
Manan, if I were to speak for our organization for a moment before making it more general, I would say that we have already taken a conscious decision that we are not going to go back to the old ways, which means A,
Ram,
we will.
if you can.
Hello, is there a problem on the audio?
Yeah,
Sure, sure,
you're here.
Venkat.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are not going to go back to the old ways insofar as our organization. A, we have already taken a decision that as and when the lockdown gets lifted, we are going to have a staggered opening before we hit full time. And as Pankaj rightly said earlier on this call, that maybe we will never go back to 100% operating from office. But at the same time, there will be measures that will be put up in place to make sure that we are more effective and we can deal with the situation, use technology far better. The key other change that would happen is I was reading a McKinsey report a few days ago, and the way the customer engagement model, and that's not just applicable for financial services but across board, is going to change quite significantly. We would probably see um, organizations adapting to digital transformation a lot more rapidly than what they used to do. I think the way you deliver services, the way we approach businesses, and even the way the banks think about, I would say, uh, lending. For example, Pankaj was saying rightly that banks are not so eager to lend money today because if one were to look at the C to D ratio, which is credit to deposit ratio, it's no longer going to be what it used to be, and people understand that the deposit growth rate will have to be higher, will be higher than what your credit growth would be, which means that profitability will differ, and you will have to figure out where do you get the next margin, because if there is a compression on cost of funds, there's a compression on the way doing businesses with the less profitable segments because you want to be more diversified, less risky, then where does the debt incremental delta going to come? Because finally, a shareholder is expecting that X return, which will not be very dramatically different in terms of overall expectation. Maybe we may see some near-term blips, but over a medium to long-term perspective, shareholder returns have to tend back to maybe a percentage point lower than what they were, but to pretty much similar zone.
Pankaj, would you give us some insights on adaptability at your end? Because one very interesting aspect that I read recently was, in spite of the lockdown, Godrej Properties was able to sell a whole bunch of flats, either virtually or they were able to get those property sale deeds registered online or without human interaction. So that brings us an entirely new aspect in, especially for real estate, where unlike buying a mobile on one of our online shopping sites, buying
Mhm.
real estate or such a large commitment requires a lot more due diligence.
Right. This industry is also adapting to the new change. And this morning we were on a call with all the real estate developers and all the brokers industry for the industry. So there will be a lot of changes will be there. People will be going for virtual tours of the properties. Previously, till now, we have seen that people used to bring in their families, once one set of family, then on the second round another set of people, and third set of people, and this used to be a never ending situations, and people used to close a transaction after maybe 6 or 7 visits. Now we really see that the people will be coming only for a final round once they will have done everything. When once they are 90% sure that they will be buying a property, only then they will be coming for a site visit, that yes, now I'm buying this property because I have to really move into it, so now I have to look into this property. And the people who are mediators in the transactions, their word is gonna be is gonna have a lot of value going forward. So situations are going to change. People are not going to visit that often as they used to. And yes, we have to adapt to new technologies, and you will see a different kind of websites for all the real estate developers in coming time, wherein virtual tours will be a very common thing. Like today you can go to a mobile site and can rotate every single mobile phone you have is there on the site. You will be able to visit the entire house without even getting into it, without even knowing anybody that you are really looking into that house. I think we have lost Manan. Hello.
Yeah, we've lost. Yeah, he's back.
I blame everything on my network provider without naming him. But yes, it's not my fault. It's my network provider's fault. Yeah.
So I was saying, Manan, that you will really see a change in all the real estate website which are already there, and people will have a lot of virtual tour available on the websites. Like you can see a mobile phone or any device and see any specification for that matter. You will be able to see any and every specification on the website, and the broker community will really need to vouch for the kind of product which is being delivered by the real estate developer. He's going to be a key person in closing a transaction. Their involvement are going to be much more than what it used to be, because previously they were behaving like a mutual fund sales guy. Invest kar do, invest kar do, invest kar do, and without bothering about what kind of product the customer is getting into. The real estate developer, the real estate broker was also selling it, that khareed lo, and I just have to sell because I have to make money out of this transaction. But now, with the all virtual tour coming up, all people going virtually to the site, yes, their word will have a lot of value, and this is how they are gonna thrive in the business, and this is gonna help us in the business as well. I'm sure Godrej must have done the same thing to sell whatever number they say.
Yeah. So one thing is getting to the human aspect of it. So the personal finance aspect of it. I'm sure some of them are not impacted as much, but the MSMEs and the SMEs and the smaller players are really finding it difficult, and that then trickles down to employees. Do you see that as a big factor going ahead? Because while they were not able to cut employee costs until recently, while they were struggling. Now, this is before COVID. This was, say, last October, November, December. A lot of the small players were struggling, and employee costs were a large part of it. This has unfortunately given them a window where they say, we need to cut on salaries, we need to cut on wages, we need to probably adapt to this changing situation. Can you all just give our audience some light on the personal finance and the personal aspect of it as well? Because if I'm getting 30 rupees less out of every 100 rupees I was getting, a lot of equations and a lot of my calculations are thrown out of gear. So Ram, if we can have your views on this, please.
Yeah, sure, Manan. And I think this is real and is here to stay. And we are going to see disruption in human resources and the compensation levels. How it will pan out over a period of time, only time will tell. But from a near-term perspective, it's going to have a significant impact. And when we are saying that global economies will turn negative, or even in Indian GDP will probably record a negative growth this year or will contract, it's on the back of these assumptions, because if there is going to be lesser capital available with, or lesser money available with people, they are not only those people who are impacted with lesser money going to be, obviously they don't have money so they will not spend, but people who are more privileged and do have excess capital will turn cautious. They are not going to, tomorrow if the lockdown gets lifted or if things normalize, I don't think we are expecting that people will go out and spend or splurge the way they used to. In early days, couple of weeks ago, I got an interesting WhatsApp saying that global economies are reeling under pressure because people are buying what they need. So it's so true, and it's quite profound in the sense that if we were to just buy what we need, obviously we are going to see a significant contraction. So, and I'm not sure, there will be several sectors, for example, cinema halls, etc. I'm not sure when we are going to go back, or travel industry, tourism industry, when people are going to spend, because these are, while it may sound quite limited to an individual, on an overall basis contribute quite significantly to the overall spend and the economy.
Sure.
And these contractions will have a significant impact. People need to be cautious in terms of how they're thinking about their spends going forward.
Pankaj,
See, to
would
add
you
to
add to
this,
that, please?
What Rambhushan said, I completely agree with him. At the same point in time, when people will be working from home, there will be a cost reduction as well. It's just not that the salary are going to reduce; their cost is also going to reduce. Cities like Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad, the travel expenses are too much, right? If somebody has to travel from his home to office and office to home, it not only takes time, but it takes a lot of the funds
Money
as
as well.
well. So
Yeah.
the traveling cost is really, really high. So for that matter, I may not be needing a driver and car tomorrow to go to my office, because I don't need to go there. And if I won't be going to the office, then I will be saving a lot on my energy as well. Similarly, when you will not be going out, then you will not be going, as Ram said, that travel industry is completely out of the picture at this moment. They are the worst hit people.
Sure.
So is the food industry. We have a hotel which is completely shut from last 31 days, and we don't see anybody coming in. We are really have started thinking that out of 7 floors we have for the rooms, we will be not operating from four of them. We will be operating only 3 of them. So we are recalibrating the entire hotel for that matter. The restaurant size, which already had about 80 covers, will be reduced to about 60 or maybe 50 covers. So you will not be going to a restaurant as well. So when you will not have those lifestyle expenses, yes, you will be saving some kind of money as well. So the difference is not gonna be that great as it looks like. That yes, I've got a salary cut of 30%. Maybe my cost of life has also gone down. But yes, not to that extent, but yes, it's gonna have an impact
Have an
on
impact.
our life as well.
So we've got a question from one of our alumni, Pankaj Pranav. So he's saying, can you shed some light on M&As in the near futures, and any specific sectors where we might see more deals because of the financial stress that we are seeing in those companies or certain sectors? So Ram, if you can please.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Pranav. I would say that it's still early days, and we have seen, if you were to look at recent last quarter numbers in terms of M&A as well as fundraising activity, it's diminished quite significantly. People will take a step back, and I think what you would see is lot more transactions in the digital space, because companies have to adapt to the new normal. People have to adapt to technology, and some of these take a lot of time to build sustainable businesses. So you may see acquisitions as a route to accelerate the entire digital transformation process. Second would be sectors which are less impacted from this entire COVID-19, say the non-discretionary spends, chemicals, some of these sectors we would see people would want to, especially those which are well funded and are better rated, would want to take this opportunity of lower valuations to bulk up and scale up. The third segment that one would see is the actually a completely diametrically opposite to the first two situations, which is basically the stressed assets. Because while the government has already notified or is in the process of notifying that IBC will be suspended for a few quarters now because of the current situation, but the stress levels are going to result in for companies to actually take a very close look at their business models, especially those with diversified businesses, and try and exit from some of those which they think are less core to their fundamental thesis, as opposed to something which has more core. And this could pan across various segments.
So
The
you see
segments
this.
which are Yeah, sorry, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Just to add to that, do you see a lot more consolidation than diversification in industries and in sectors going ahead? Where if I know how to do a particular business, I will do it, and I will not try to diversify into unrelated businesses, trying to focus my capital only on that particular sector.
Yeah,
So do
Manan,
you,
that's after every such round, and I would say that we have seen different segments, even right from '95, since probably a little earlier than that, when I've been tracking these segments. We have seen phases of consolidation and diversification. Today, anyway, the recent flavor has been to try and focus on things that you do well. I would say that this process would only accelerate now because capital is scarce, and you would find it difficult to diversify beyond what is your core strategy for companies.
Pankaj, can we have your thoughts on that, please?
See, as far as stress assets are concerned, I completely agree with Rambhushan. There will be opportunities where people can pick up those assets, and as I have said, cash is going to be very, very important at this moment, and people will be really looking for avenues where the cash can be generated. So far as real estate is concerned, we have already been advised by all the associations that yes, in case if you have to reduce price by 20%, and if you can sell, you are able to sell, then you should be selling it. So yes, there will be a lot of pressure because the revenues are not going to be there, and the stress is going to be there in the market. And consolidation, I, as far as consolidation is concerned in the real estate, I don't think there will be any consolidation for that matter. But yes, there will be opportunities where people will be picking up stakes in companies who need more funds and are highly leveraged for that matter, and have assets, but have assets. The leverage but assets does, and not cash, non-cash generating assets. So there are the situation where people will be really looking for revenues.
We have a question from one of our younger alumni, asking, looking at the current scenario, what ratio of recruitments cut down in the finance sector can be expected? Also, what are the skill sets that we should keep on our checklist to meet future job needs, especially in the finance domain?
Yeah, it's very difficult, Manan, to put a number to it at this point of time. But clearly, it's going to be a challenging period, similar to people who joined around the 95, 96, just a batch after ours. We were lucky to be the last batch, which before there was a lull in terms of hiring, which again picked up in 98, 99. Again, post 2000, there was again a lull around 2003, 2004. There was a lull in GFC. And there was, what people are going to hit the pause button. And I think it's going to be important for people, students, to demonstrate as to how did they utilize this period of challenging environment. Have you enhanced your skills in any manner? Did you gain certain certifications? There are several, including EDX, which is the Harvard study, which has released several free courses, which you can then pay and upgrade to become a verified course, and similar courses across from various uh, institutions. Have you done that? I would strongly urge everyone to read as many books as one can to improve the
Possible, yeah.
perspective. It's very easy to switch over to Netflix, especially with the plethora or Amazon Prime these days. And there are several good and very compelling series that are going on. But I think it's important to enhance your skill sets. And I would say that especially for the next year's batch or even the current year batch, if there are challenges, some of the questions will be revolving around this as to how did each one upskill
Utilize this.
themselves this period. And so that's something which one will have to do.
At the same point in time, I agree with Ram, and at the same point in time, it is very, very difficult to judge at this hour till the time the lockdown is not lifted to understand that what is going to be the impact on the job market for that matter. as I've said that we are, as you also said, Manan, that a lot of investment can be coming into this country, and in case if people will be shifting their production capacity, facilities from any other place to this country, and we don't know that what kind of job opportunities will be there, because so we really have to wait and watch till the time this situation is not normalized, and this is gonna take really some good amount of time. It's not gonna
Take its
happen
time.
tomorrow, even if the lockdown is lifted on 3rd of May, which is most unlikely, and even if it gets lifted by end of May for that matter, the situation is not going to normalize for a couple of months. So we can really see that till, yes, till November, I don't see anything. People will only keep adapting to the new situation. People will not be looking into anything new. Those people will be very entrepreneurial, who will be really looking into new ventures, new system, new ideas, and all those stuff. And I'm sure situation is gonna not going to be the same. So it's very difficult at this hour to really see and forecast, give a forecast that how the job market is gonna pan out in such situations.
Yeah, but Manan, I would only encourage that on that very somber note, I would say that people shouldn't lose hope,
Yeah.
because I think one could end up in despair. But I would strongly urge that if you, it's a, I would say that now having spent 25 years, it's easier to say. But what I've realized is that after the first couple of years, you realize that it was not what very relevant. It's basically what you do, and there's a long career ahead. So even if you have an not so great start, and I have a couple of them from our own batch of 95 who didn't have a great start to their careers, but are now right at the top, which probably even those coming from IIM and IIT would aspire to. So one shouldn't lose hope, and just see what you can do, because what's extraneous is not in your hands. So there's no point worrying about it. You should just reflect on what you could do, and some of the guidance that Pankaj and I had indicated, I would just say that stick to that.
I would like to add to that. My case is a classic case. After spending reasonable amount of time across sectors and across in the banking side, I got my own startup. I got everything. We got regulatory approvals and all that. And 2 weeks later, COVID struck. A lot of my clients who had committed funds for the venture, they had to withdraw because of constraints at their end. And it's an interesting thing, but like Ram, you said, we are not losing hope. We are trying to adapt. The key is to see what best you can make of your situation, rather than sit and wonder what next. It's actually up to us to make the most of it. So on that positive note, we've got about 5-7 minutes left. So I'd like to end with a positive question to both of you. While in lockdown, what's the most interesting and the most fun aspect that you see at your workplace or otherwise, the most positive thing that we've come across in this? I'll start out with myself. I can hear my wife making food, and the pressure cooker whistles going across while on calls. So that's been an interesting aspect. Pankaj, at your end, please.
See, this lockdown has really helped me connect with my old hobby, which was cooking. I never used to get time to cook, and this is the time when I have really been able to show my culinary skills, which I was really missing out on. At the same point in time, I must say that the whole bunch of colleague of mine, all the entire set of people work with me, have really shown very positivity. For an example, there is one gentleman in my team who's an accountant for that matter. This guy didn't had a 4G phone, and he was supposed to work from home, and he was to make all daily reports for me, that who has made money, who's paid, who's not paid money, and all the stuff. This guy has borrowed the phone from his wife, promising her that I will give you a better one tomorrow, and has really shown things which I never expected out of him. He could simply say that, sir, I don't have a 4G phone. The company has only given me a phone which is good for which is a very basic phone, for that
Basic
matter.
form.
What we call it, a keypad phone. So he has done that well. So I'm really hopeful that everybody for that matter, is showing that yes, as Ram initially said, the first 1 week and 2 week was like a holiday for every one of us. But yes, then people have also realized that yes, we need to work, and people have really shown. The people are, and their efforts are very encouraging for that matter. And being a boss, I don't need to push them hard that you really need to work from home. They come up themselves that yes, I can do this and I can do this. So I think it's a good learning.
Ram, some big positives that we've seen from your end, please.
So on a lighter note, I would say that everybody has become quite adept at what would call as BJP, not the party, but Bhandi Jhadu Pocha. So yeah, so I think the fact is that we are learning new things and things which we thought we could never manage earlier, or is something which we always expected that someone will do it for us. Now we are forced to do it for ourselves. And that's a very interesting journey, as I would say. I've been able to spend a lot more time with my kids. Now they are quite old, but 18 and 14. But the fact is that we get to spend quality time together. In fact, from a work perspective, it's increased quite significantly. And they are also, I can also see them complaining as to, we think you're spending more time on work than what you used to do earlier, because there's no time, there's no Friday, there's no Saturday, there's no Sunday. But yeah, that's a good part of it, that you are able to mix the two. From a work perspective, I think the one key thing which we all enjoy is we do almost a daily call in terms of generally catching up with colleagues, which with both our co-leaders, we run that call on a daily basis. One which is with some of the senior leaders, and one with a broader segment, just to try and find out how things are, one can add value to each other. And it's quite surprising, I would say, that how people have adapted to this new environment. It's quite phenomenal.
So there is always a silver lining in the dark cloud, and it's actually up to us individuals to look and find that lining. So on that note,
Absolutely, man.
I thank both of y'all. Thanks for joining in today on this Friday evening. And we hope to do a lot more talks with y'all. There were some questions, unfortunately, because of time constraints, we were not able to take those. But Arvind, we are happy to answer those offline. If the participants have any further questions, please feel free to send those across. Between the three of us, I'm sure we will try and provide some answers to those.
Sure.
And thanks to the institute as well, who has taken this initiative and are organizing these talks. This is the first of this. I'm sure there will be many more to come. Right. Thank you so much. Arvind, on to you.
Yeah, before that, thanks Arvind and Himanshi for setting this up. And I think it's a great initiative. For whatever it's worth, I'm sure that some of the participants here would have taken away. The only suggestion is that if we can find ways, and I'm sure someday technology will allow that, to make it slightly more interactive.
Sure, Rambushan. Thanks a lot to both the panelists, Rambushan and Pankaj. Thank you, Manan, for moderating the session. It was a very insightful session. Got a lot of insights in terms of what's happening in the industry. What is it that we should look forward to?